Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Davidson. Welcome to the first presentation in a multi-part series entitled Better Than a Flu Shot: How to Enhance Your Immune System Naturally. So today, at the risk of sounding boastful, I dare say the talk I will be starting is going to be extremely valuable to you. It is unique in that, unlike most talks on natural medicine, all the information presented is going to be based on sound scientific evidence. You're going to get a summary of hundreds of research articles. If you were to try to read these on your own, it may take you several months if you're quick and cost you tens of thousands of dollars at roughly $50 per full text article on a site like PubMed. But I'm going to summarize and simplify these for you in quick 10 to 15-minute videos. Actually, today is probably going to be the longest video as an introduction to the series, but I hope you stay tuned as more will be coming out shortly. And with that, I encourage you to take notes, pay attention, as I know this material is going to be extremely valuable to your health. So I'll let you read the disclaimer on your own. The learning objectives for today will be for you to gain an understanding of how your lifestyle decisions affect your immune system function. Also, to gain an understanding of how specific foods can be used to boost immune function and the ability to apply this knowledge when preparing food. And also to become familiar with simple, low to no cost, lifestyle-related tools and practices such as breathing techniques, music, and humor that can be used as preventive care to enhance and balance the immune system. So who knows what the importance of a healthy immune system is? The picture there kind of gives you a few clues. So we have constant exposure to this outside world, which is crawling with all these microorganisms, all these microbes like bacteria, fungi, viruses, etc., that can potentially be dangerous to our health. So we need a sophisticated defense system to keep us healthy, to keep all these organisms at bay and keep them out of our body. Another critical role of the immune system is that it actually prevents and destroys cancer cells, and also helps us to handle stress and prevent a number of diseases, such as autoimmune disease, including conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and many others. So if I were to summarize in general, our immune system is an essential part of our overall health. It interacts with every other organ system and is critical to keeping us healthy in general. It keeps out or fights off pathogens. Now, pathogen is a term that refers to any kind of microorganism that can be dangerous to our health. So it can refer to bacteria, viruses, fungi. All of these can be considered pathogens if they're dangerous to our health. The immune system also prevents and destroys cancer cells, like I mentioned before, and it also assists in the body's tissue repair, regeneration, and renewal processes. Finally, it also allows us to tolerate the outside world, and it allows us to differentiate our own tissues from foreign tissues, and thereby preventing conditions like autoimmune disease. So, how do we normally handle infections? We've all heard of this conventional model that basically you get sick, you go to your doctor gives you some drugs to help you deal with the symptoms, maybe some antibiotics. But is this something that is wise to do? Is this a good thing to do? Is it harmful? So I want you to start thinking about this, because there's a whole another way of handling disease and infection in general, and that's called the functional model or the holistic model. So I'll be covering both of these in great detail. But so basically, let's say you have a cold, you go to your doctor, a doctor may spend 5 to 10 minutes of you, and let's say you have a, cough, may give you some cough syrup, maybe some antibiotics, and, it seems to solve the problem, but does it really? What do these drugs actually do? Do they only cover up the symptoms, or do they address the underlying cause, the root cause of why the sickness occurred in the first place? So this approach, this conventional approach, it all goes back to this germ theory of infectious disease. It was first proposed by this Italian scientist in the mid-16th century. And the basic premise is that these microorganisms that we can't see, but are very ubiquitous, and certain ones are actually dangerous to our health. So when we get exposed to these dangerous pathogens, we become sick. That was the idea of the germ theory. And it was later developed by other scientists, including the well-renowned Louis Pasteur, whom we all know for the technique of pasteurization, which is a process of sterilizing certain products like dairy. And the problem, though, with this germ theory of infectious disease is that it fails to take into account the importance of the host immune system. In other words, let's say there are 100 people and we squirt a cold virus into each of them, right? Which is something scientists do quite often to test out various immune concoctions to strengthen the immune system. Well, you have to realize that out of the 100 that will get the cold virus, only a fraction of those will actually develop the cold. So the determining factor of which individual will actually develop a cold and which will be able to shrug it off and resist the cold virus is going to be entirely dependent on our immune system and how robust, how healthy it is. So the healthiness, the robustness of our immune system and its interaction with this outside environment, its ability to handle all the pathogens and eliminate them, is going to be probably more important than the presence or absence of the actual microorganisms, the actual pathogens themselves. And this is what this germ theory really fails to take into account. That's why it's flawed. So in the conventional approach, we have often we prescribe, there are antibiotics that are prescribed. This is what I mean by killing bugs with drugs. Versus in the functional or holistic approach, we try to support the natural immune defenses. In other words, we try to support the body's natural defenses using something called, I developed an acronym called WHAT's up, or what's up. So you'll see what this is in just a moment. So the W stands for weapons targeting. So in the functional model, we use substances, for instance, oregano essential oil, and other herbs and natural products. But in particular, for instance, oregano essential oil helps to target only the pathogenic bacteria while leaving the good bacteria alone for the most part. So for instance, it'll kill off preferentially E. coli while leaving other bacteria that are actually important for our health, that are actually good bacteria alone. Now, versus we have in the conventional model antibiotics, and some of which are very broad spectrum. In other words, they kill off everything in sight, like a WMD. It's like a bomb going off inside of you, which doesn't really differentiate or discriminate between good bacteria, bad bacteria. It just kills everything. And obviously there are downsides and side effects associated with this. The A stands for augmenting natural barriers and systems of elimination. So we have herbs like ginger and garlic, which can actually work together. So for instance, if you have a cold and you're coughing up a lot of phlegm, ginger can actually help you to cough this up. So it acts like an expectorant, helping you to cough up the mucus. And garlic helps to thin it out. So they work together, to improve the system of elimination we have, the natural elimination system that our body was designed with, to eliminate these infections. So the S stands for squeezing out the bad guys. And this is used primarily for prevention. We have products like probiotics, which are beneficial microorganisms. So you can think of it as, for instance, imagine you're in a crowded bus. The bus is so crowded that there's really no room at all for anyone else to get on. Everyone is just standing. And so you can think of it as being completely full, and let's say all the passengers are really good people, right? They're good people, or in the case of probiotics, they're good bacteria. And so since the bus is crowded, there's no room for anyone else to get on at the next stop. There's no room for the bad guys, right? So in the same way, we use probiotics, or good bacteria, to populate our our intestinal tract, so that there'll be no room, or very little room, preferably no room at all, for the bad bacteria. There'll only be good bacteria. So this is the way we can squeeze them out. And prebiotics are actually components like fiber and other plant-based materials, primarily found in plants, that serve as food for the good bacteria. So prebiotics are food for the probiotics. And they're found primarily in fibrous fruits and vegetables, and other foods from plant sources. The U stands for upregulating innate and adaptive immunity. And we have foods like cruciferous vegetables, So in this category, we have foods like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, and others that all act on a cellular level to actually increase the fighting ability of our own immune cells to withstand these pathogens. And then we have finally P, which is promoting tissue repair and regeneration. And we have herbs like golden seal, which specifically act on mucous membranes, such as those lining our mouth, nose, and throat, helping to restore the integrity of these membranes and helping us to eliminate and expel pathogens. So if you read that in a column, that spells what's up. And I hope that helps it easier for you to remember. So moving on, we should consider the pros and cons of each type of model. So in the conventional model, there are some pros associated with this model. And first of all, it does have the potential to resolve the infection and may be necessary in some cases. So if you have some severe, serious infections, maybe hospitalization is required, it's definitely worth considering, using conventional methods like antibiotics, like other medications that could be necessary in some cases. And the other benefit is that it's typically fast and convenient. You go to your doctor, you may spend 10 minutes and then you're out the door with a script for, some cough meds and some antibiotics. It's the American standard. No one wants to wait for 5 minutes for brain surgery nowadays, right? So it's the new Mick medicine, drive-through medicine, right? So it may seem like there's no problems, but there are a lot of downsides to actually treating health problems in this way, because by their very nature, health problems tend to be complex. So the cons of this conventional approach is that it fails to address the underlying causes of infection. Okay, so it doesn't ask why the person got sick in the first place. Was their immune system weakened? If so, why was it weakened? Was there a specific nutrient deficiency that was key in supporting certain immune cells? Was there stress involved? Was there lack of sleep or other causes that failed to be investigated? And so also it may damage the immune system. So when a person takes antibiotics, or especially broad spectrum antibiotics, it kills off all the organisms, right? Good, bad, doesn't matter. And this increases our risk of future infections because those very same organisms, those good bacteria, are key in sustaining and supporting a healthy immune system. So in the very process of treating this infection, we're actually damaging the very system that prevents us from getting sick in the first place, prevents us from getting infected, our immune system. So that's a serious side effect. And there's also, as I mentioned, collateral damage to good bacteria, right? So these bacteria not only support our immune system, but actually play many roles in supporting our health in general by providing us with key nutrients, eliminating wastes, etc. It also can lead to antimicrobial resistance, right? So we take an antibiotic and it may kill 99.99% of the pathogens, but 0.001% might survive. And this remnant might be more resistant to those drugs, having certain survivable genes that the others didn't. And it can rapidly multiply and spread this resistance gene to other bacteria. And therefore, next time we get sick, we're not going to be able to. So those very same antibiotics that helped us the first time may be a lot less effective, and the bacteria might become resistant to it. And also, there are many other adverse drug reactions, that various antibiotics and other drugs can have. So this is all needs to be really weighed carefully prior to just taking antibiotics or taking really any medication. This also has to be considered, but unfortunately, it's very rarely considered and taken into account. And the pros and cons are really rarely weighed out like this. So what about the functional model or the holistic model? So just like the conventional model, it has the potential to resolve the infection by using what's up, right? The acronym we went through earlier. it also involves investigating and addressing the underlying causes of infection. So not only are we addressing the immediate problem and resolving the infection, but we're also correcting the underlying cause. So basically, we're also preventing future infections. We're strengthening the body overall and making it healthier, right? And we're correcting the underlying problem so that, it doesn't occur again and that we're made healthier in general. There's little to no collateral damage, unlike with a conventional model, because we're using herbs and essential oils, for instance, that are more selective for pathogenic bacteria, and for the most part, leave the good bacteria alone. There are cons. There is one con, actually, in this system, is that more time and effort are required from both the doctor and the patient compared to the conventional model. So whereas in the conventional model, you may be out the door within 10 minutes with a script in your hand, for the antibiotics. In this functional model, you might spend an hour with discussing the issue with the doctor, investigating the potential underlying causes, and you might have to actually put in some work. Maybe add some healthy foods to your diet that actually support your immune system. Maybe you'll have to use some antimicrobial and immune supporting herbs. And change some other lifestyle habits that can potentially weaken your immune system, like learn some stress coping techniques, etc. So it's not McMedicine. It's definitely it involves a little more effort, but it's definitely more than worthwhile. And on this note, there are additional pros with the functional or holistic model, in that it focuses on improving the immune system health and thereby, like I mentioned before, prevents future infections. In the conventional model, if antimicrobial resistance to the antibiotics occurs, it can potentially lead to more severe and harder to treat infections. And especially with broad spectrum antibiotics, this is a big concern, that if a lot of good bacteria are wiped out, it can lead to what are called super infections, or more serious and severe infections that are much harder to treat. This is not so, and in fact, quite the opposite with a conventional model. Quite the opposite with a functional model. And so another benefit of the functional model or the holistic model is that it reduces the risk of a multitude of other pathologies, including conditions like cancer, autoimmune disease, and respiratory conditions like asthma. And then also we have to be aware that the lifestyle factors that specifically strengthen the immune system also generally improve overall health. So not only are we supporting and strengthening the immune system, but we're also enhancing overall and general health. So the lifestyle factors that I mentioned just now that specifically influence the immune system that we're going to be talking about include nutrition, state of mind, and the mind-body connection. Those go hand in hand. And then also supplements, exercise, stress, and sleep. So this will conclude this first part in this multi-part video series. And in the next video, we're going to talk about a specific food that will help you to strengthen your immune system. So I hope you stay tuned. The next video will be coming out shortly, and we're going to be talking about this nutrition category and looking at specific foods and how they support the immune system, even on a cellular level. It's going to be extremely valuable information. I hope you're as excited as I am. And with that, I'm Dr. Davidson. It has been a pleasure to talk to you about the importance of immune health and how you can improve it using simple lifestyle-related tools and practices. God bless you.